Do you ever wonder what happened to all those children's faces on milk cartons, grocery bags? I invite you to read this article with me from 1985 because I want to focus on the language that's used. And I want you to keep in mind as we talk about this the words of Sasha Riley, the events that that person talked about around this time. I want you to recall that Sasha Riley talks about a very specific assault occurring against them when they were about 12 years old. Sasha Riley was born in 1973, making them about 12 years old in 1985. And that very specific, memorable assault occurring at the hands of a current sitting representative of this country named Jim Jordan. Let's go forward. Hysteria inflates estimates of missing children. Oft quoted figures exaggerated, law enforcement officials and experts say. I was 7 years old when this article was written. I was the age of children who we are hearing about from survivors over the past several months and years before that they were when they were being trafficked. That could have been me. That could have been you. We were more fortunate than some. We were fortunate to not know those horrors. And that's why I feel obligated to talk about it so much, because there are many who never got to share their story because their voices were silenced, because their lives were ended. And this article is going to speak in such a way that it will make you believe that that is being revealed just isn't as urgent of an issue as it was being made out to be back then, or even now. Worry about missing children has escalated into a national epidemic of fear. The faces of the missing stare back at us from television screens, utility bills, milk cartons, and grocery bags. Various groups warn us that as many as 1.5 million children disappear each year and that strangers kidnap as many as 50,000 of them. And the groups say as many as 4,000 children are murdered after being abducted. However, law enforcement officials joined by leading missing children experts say that those numbers are grossly exaggerated. One missing child is too many. The family tragedy of having a child kidnapped and murdered cannot be diluted by numbers of any kind. Yet, the inflated numbers themselves are damaging the lives of millions of parents, affecting how they feel about their children's safety and what they should teach their children about the society they live in. I just want to ask you if you are picking up on the generalizations and the lack of specificity so far, because there's more to come. Parents are scared. They think there's someone on every street corner waiting to grab their child, said Jack McEnvoy, a family relations psychologist. Parents. Doesn't say which ones, doesn't say how many. They all just think someone's on every street corner waiting to grab their child. This article makes me feel like they want me to believe, as someone reading it, that this applies to every single parent. And creating this sort of sentiment around concern for your children is something that has induced this hysteria, because every parent thinks this. So we need to do something about that to make sure that every parent isn't creating this hysteria that we as journalists, that we as politicians have to dampen down a little, right? It's really not that bad. It's making children paranoid too. There's a difference between healthy respect and caution and what's going on now. it's not healthy anymore. There's a tremendous scare on, said Louis McGagg, director of Child Find, the nation's oldest and best-known missing children organization. Once a strong supporter of the 50,000 estimate, Child Find now says that the actual number of stranger abducted children is less than 600 per year. Stranger abducted. Keep that in mind. The cases of children kidnapped by strangers on file with the FBI and children's groups show an even smaller number. The FBI reports that it had 67 cases of children kidnapped by strangers in 1984. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says that it has firm records on 142 cases. Law enforcement and missing children experts say that about 95% of missing children reports are on runaways, and most runaways return home within 3 days. Most of the rest are children abducted in parental custody disputes. Only a small fraction are abducted by strangers. So it's fitting that it starts raining as we come to a close, because concerning the runaways, those who don't return home, how do you know, and where is the explanation that they aren't abducted by strangers? Because if you remember the words of Sasha Riley and how their adoptive father, William Kyle Riley, was, for lack of a better word, a scout. That this ring had people that would go out and look for runaways, remember? Look specifically for runaways. But they're classified as runaways, not children abducted by strangers. But the ones that don't return home, how do you know they aren't abducted by strangers? Because many victims have said that's exactly what they saw happen. And then it says abducted in parental custody disputes. Sasha Riley's account is that they were trafficked by their adoptive parents. Why is there no mention of adoptive parent abductions? Parental custody disputes. I find the information very thin, and I find it as if it's trying to lead us to a conclusion that just calm down. This isn't a big deal. And the ultimate gaslighting and reducing of an issue that is so direly important comes at the end. Their figures are impossible, said Bill Carter of the FBI's Public Information Bureau in Washington. More than 50,000 soldiers died in the Vietnam War. Almost everyone in America knows someone who was killed there. The numbers I've seen from missing child groups on abducted children range from 5,000 to 50,000. Do you know a child who has been abducted? That should tell you something right there. Well, in 1979, at the age of 6, Eton Patz was one of the first missing children to appear on a milk carton. Maybe some of you who are a little older than me saw this young child on a milk carton when you were little. What qualifies as kidnapping? Because in the 70s, the police departments were hesitant to intervene when non-custodial parents made off with their children. They viewed the incidents as domestic disagreements rather than true kidnappings. How many thousands of children ended up being put into a system where they were trafficked because of disputes and disagreements that in the past decades, police, politicians didn't view it as something they should be involved with. Viewed it as hysteria. Viewed it as keeping to your own business, right? We are seeing in these revelations from the Epstein files and from what survivors have said, hundreds, most likely thousands of children, tens of thousands over our lifetime, who just disappeared into the cracks because we don't want to get too hysterical and overly concerned.